Yo! That was unexpected, wasn't it? I'm not entirely sure whether I'm like... I don't know why I'm wearing that hat. Sometimes it gives me great comfort. Also, I do apologize for possibly somewhat shaky sound quality. Connecting my microphone to the... This is sweet wood. This is oolong tea. Oolong, oolong, oolong. But maybe the scenery is more important than actually me sitting in it. I mean, maybe it's just enough to see somebody. I mean, that's what they do in porn, right? They cut off a face and people still watch it. Don't ask me why, but I have this habit of whenever I start doing something, I always go more and more extreme. Like, I always did this with food. And I did it with psychedelics. Now I do it with tea. I did it with coffee. Yeah, I found the humidity in my room was, especially in winter, it gets really dry. So I still had a kettle standing around in the cellar. And so I was being smart and I simply put it in here, so I also will drink more tea, because I can do this in the privacy of my own space, which makes me more comfortable. Also because I use only filtered water, and the water filter is in the cellar because there was no space for it up here. And my family doesn't use filtered water, so I cook with filtered water, I drink filtered water, I don't drink tap water anymore, because I know that they put all kinds of stuff in there. And at one stage in your life you may realize that you need as much stability as you can have, and you start to also maybe make certain decisions that you wouldn't have made previously because it wouldn't have mattered to you. But to me, at least, I can say at a certain stage in my life, and if you are serious about your spiritual development and your personal growth, I may say is at a certain stage in your life, you will make decisions that seem quite radical to other people. And some of these decisions start with, I only drink filtered tap water. Because I know why. Because I don't have the luxury anymore. I cannot allow myself the luxury to introduce all kinds of toxins. Because to be honest, there are certain things I don't trust the government with. And I firmly believe that they have no idea what they're doing. And I'm not going to go into depths with this. I do this in my books. Because I have also said this before. I don't like censorship on YouTube. I don't like it very much. That I have to think about what I want to say. I find that humiliating and always pointing towards China and censorship, and I mean, what are we doing? Everything is censored. I look at the newspapers. Nobody criticizes the government in the newspapers anymore. All they do is they're basically kissing the government's ass. The newspaper should be allowed to heavily criticize the government, because that's what we should do in general. To criticize governments and to criticize anyone who stands in public. And I'm sure there will be people criticizing me for what I'm doing, but that's the point. Everybody will have the right to criticize me, but as soon as you say something against the government, you're like conspiracy theorist or whatever. So it's quite biased, and everybody's so afraid with what's gonna happen. I mean, it's not like they still use the guillotine, right? So whatever. But the point is, for what I'm doing, I need to be clear in my head, and not just for what I'm doing in the sense that, I'm criticizing and I'm being creative. No. Anyone who lives a life, which I assume most of you do, if that is if you're still living, who knows, should make certain decisions and stick with them. I don't stick with all my decisions. Some of the decisions I don't stick with are sometimes pornography and sometimes coffee. Because yes, sometimes my own emotional struggle is too great, and I set up rules for myself that were unrealistic at the time because I wasn't ready yet. And so I continuously find myself breaking my rules regarding pornography and I just wanted to say psychedelics, but I never said I said once I never want to take them again. And I think in an ideal version of myself I also wouldn't. But who am I to claim that I'm ideal in any sense? I mean, I'm ideal as I am. And I like to have and maintain the freedom to make stupid decisions concerning myself once in a while. Because that makes me human, right? I don't want to be a machine. I don't want to walk around telling people that I'm constantly doing stuff and then I'm so afraid that they will find out that I actually don't do it. I'd rather admit that I masturbated. I'd rather admit that I drank coffee, although I claimed in my books that I don't want to do that anymore. And to so many people, including politicians and anyone, any kind of non-public person, any regular dude or any regular woman, they are all so concerned about how they look like or how they appear in front of other people that they're constantly faking who they are because they think something is wrong about them. And I don't like that. I don't ever like that. I don't like people who do podcasts only when they feel good. I don't like that because it's unrealistic. And if you're faking like a smile for a podcast, then it's fake. It's still fake. And if you think you're opening people's hearts, if you can't open up to yourself being tired right now, like why can't you make a podcast and just start the podcast with being honest and say, today I didn't really feel like it, but I came here and did it anyway. And you don't say that to get like clickbait, no. It's just, you only say that if you feel like it. Like I sometimes don't feel like making it, but a part of me does, and then I sit there and do it. Or I take my time until I'm ready. But I don't act like I'm overly happy. If I hate recording an episode, I'll say it. And that just gives me the freedom to say basically anything that I want. Because I don't understand this concept of lying about yourself so that other people will like you. And, I don't know, I can't say I did change sometimes so that people would like me. And the thing is, I didn't even realize I was doing it, and that's the strange part. Because sometimes I judge people for this, but then I remember, I think I used to be like that too. And maybe I'm still like that in some way. Only, if I'm not aware of it, I probably wouldn't even realize I'm doing it because it's such a, it's automatic. You don't think about it. It's just happening. And that's why observation is the most important thing with anything you're doing. It's important to observe what you're doing while you're doing it. And that's when you do stuff in this meditative state. You just pay attention. Whoa, did I just say that? You actually start realizing sometimes the things that you say. And once you've realized it, next time maybe you catch yourself before you say it because you can feel beforehand that you were going to say it. And then you stop yourself saying it. It's like when I was younger, well, I'm younger 2 seconds ago, but previously, I used to always talk about people's secrets. People would tell me something and I would go around telling it to other people because I was unaware of it. But once or twice I made a mistake and I told something that I shouldn't have told. And from that moment on, I started to pay attention. I started to learn to speak less. Literally say nothing. Wait till people approach you. And then pay attention to what they're asking and what is the intention of the question. What do they really want to know? Because, like I said, sometimes people ask you a question, but their intention is different from what it appears to be. And if you're very gullible, you will be unaware of this. And therefore it is important to pay attention to what you're doing and what other people are doing. And that's where this word ignorance comes in. It's a term that, maybe Jesus has used. Don't waste your time with the ignorant. They don't know what they're doing. They literally don't. They just feed themselves. Like with the politicians, can you be really mad at them for what they're doing? Or can you say that, they're ignorant? But at a certain position, you can cause so much harm by being ignorant because you just think of yourself and the money you'll get. That there have to be consequences. That's just like it is. Like if I really screw up, I have to apologize. And if I really screw up and then trying to make it look like everybody else was wrong, or I was still right, although it's obvious that I was wrong, then I'm just a pretentious shit. And if I'm a politician and I'm like this, then I'm quite dangerous, am I not? See, these are the topics that really make me angry the whole day. And they really make me angry, they rile me up. They want to make me kick down some doors. And the reason why I don't do that is because I learned how to observe myself. So I know I feel like this, so I can deal with it. If I don't know that I feel like this, I might just run around and get angry at other people for it. Because if I don't know what makes me angry, or why it makes me angry, I will just be angry. And then I will project my anger onto everybody else. So it's important to know what you feel, like what is my emotion. And that includes maybe when you feel it, so you can figure out why you feel it. Like if you figure out, first of all, that you feel it, or what you feel even, like, that's probably stage one. First of all, what do I even feel? Most people cannot tell the difference between like disgust and hatred and fear, because fear can show itself in hatred. So if you don't want to admit to yourself that you're afraid, then you won't know why you're angry. And if you don't know why you're angry, you're just gonna be angry. And then you're going to let everybody in your surroundings like suck up your anger, because you think also you have a right to be angry. Or you think, it's your boyfriend's like beard hair in your sink. Or it's the reason like the person in front of the car that's walking like whatever. You think it's everybody else, but of course not you. Because you're always trying to look for reasons instead of looking inside once. And then thinking like, what do I actually feel? Because that can make you angry if you don't know what you feel, because you're probably feeling so much. I mean, that can make a person angry, to like feel too much, to be overloaded with emotion. Because emotions are things that need to flow. But we're always holding them back, like pressing them down, because nobody wants to feel anything. Because as soon as you feel anything in this kind of society, suddenly you're vulnerable. And then people start attacking you. Because suddenly, they project all their shit onto you. Because maybe they see themselves in you. Because you show them their own emotions by showing them. If you start to cry as a man, and other men get angry at you, then they hate you for showing them something that they have inside of them. If they hate you for, showing weakness, they actually hate themselves. It's all kind of twisted. So it's no use to explain to other people how they feel. No, they have to understand how they feel themselves. I cannot explain to you how you feel. I may help you in certain ways. But the best way is already, you look at something, you like it, you don't like it. If you don't like it, you look at it. You ask yourself the question, why don't I like it? There's an emotion right there, like, why do you get angry if you see people with yellow hats? Doesn't matter to me. It matters to you maybe. Why do you get angry when it's like raining or something? Why do you get angry about so many things? And then you have to start asking a question. Holy shit, like why does that make me angry? But in order to tell that something specific made you angry, it doesn't make you angry, you're already angry. It's just showing you your anger. And your anger is always connected to something painful of your past. Or to some like weird point of view or opinion, but that's also connected to something from the past. And maybe also, something that you got wrong. Or you told yourself something happened and it didn't happen that way. And that's why it's important to look at these things and to draw these emotions out, to feel them. Like that's why I paint. Whatever it is I'm painting. I'm not going to show that to you. But, I paint about sexuality because I want to express myself sexually. I can't right now, so I paint it. But sometimes I forget that, and then I watch porn. Because sometimes I have so many other things I want to do. I don't also want to paint. Something we need breaks. Like sometimes we need just to sleep or to read just a really simple novel. And sometimes we just need to feel and feel miserable. So it's about looking at what do I even feel in the first place? Because if you say you don't feel anything, that's already a lie. Everybody feels something. You just don't want to look at it because you're probably scared to show it. Well, just start by showing it to yourself. Just tap into it. You might scare yourself even. You might start shouting suddenly. Once you untap your emotions and that starts flowing, holy shit, you can get seriously angry at a lot of people. But in the end, it's your anger. And shouting at people can cause other emotions in yourself, like shame. I can tell you a story about that. I'm still ashamed of how I shouted at my family, that I hate them and stuff. But all I can say is, it needed to happen somehow. Because they weren't listening to when I said that I'm seriously unhappy. They didn't care. So I had to show them how I felt. Because they were only concerned with themselves and I didn't like that. Because they're supposed to be my family, they're supposed to support me. So I had to see also, how far can you go? That's what I said, I live in extremes. I start with a bit of oolong tea and then suddenly I want 4 and next time probably 5. I always want more, and the same I did with psychedelics. I started with half a package and you take a whole one, and then you take the strongest one and suddenly you take 1 package and then suddenly you take 2 packages. Same with rapé. I started just doing it occasionally and then I did it in combination with psychedelic mushrooms and then with all kinds of stuff, and I just experiment. But I do this on my own and I can't blame anyone for that. So if you pick up something that I say here and then you try and repeat that and you have a bad experience, well then it's your fault. Because you did it. Nobody made you do it. So it's self-responsibility. You can't sue anyone for that. Well, that's the system we're living in, right? You can sue anyone for anything. It's ridiculous. So you find out what you feel. So you learn about even what kind of emotions are there actually. I wrote a book about that, but the price might shock you. Wow, it's $60. Value for value. So yeah, how much do you want to pay to learn something about emotions? In my language, it's like tough one to follow, I assume. So what do you feel? When do you feel it? Why do you feel it? How does it feel like to feel something in the first place? And how do I deal with feeling these things? If you like do these kinds of exercises and you keep practicing, you keep observing yourself and you find out, okay, in these moments I feel like this, because if you keep track of the things that might be bothering you right now, it's less easy to slip. Because if I'm aware of the fact there's like something emotional going on with me, like something with a woman, I feel like heartbroken, I feel like I miss her. If I'm aware of that, and I don't try to push it away because it's too painful, no, I'm actually aware that that might be an issue causing me to feel like depressed once in a while, causing me to have certain urges and like overeating or something, being more prone to anger. Because these things frustrate us. We have a need. We want this woman to fulfill it. She can't. She won't. She doesn't. It makes you angry. Then you become angry at yourself because you think, you're a piece of shit and nobody likes you. These kinds of things, they're all interconnected. But there may be something at the very basis of it. And if you keep pointing your finger on it and keep looking at it and keep reflecting what happens to you during the day onto that issue, you might just get rid of it. And you might just find out why you feel like this in the first place. Like, why are you so needy in terms of women? I mean, I can direct that question towards me, but anybody can direct that question towards them. Why do we feel like we need anybody? And can't we just be happy alone? Like, you should be perfectly happy spending time alone in your room. If you can't do that, there's something wrong. So you need to look at these things. Like, train this to be alone and learn to observe how you feel when you're alone. And this will set you free. I can basically guarantee you that. I mean, suffering, it feels like shit, but ultimately it sets you free. So you can impose certain amounts of suffering on purpose onto yourself, like forcing yourself to do the things that take you out of your comfort zone. Forcing yourself to spend time alone, even though it feels shit, because it will make you stronger. If you see always the lesson behind it, and if you know that it makes you stronger, like while you're suffering, you won't care that you know that it makes you stronger. You will hate it anyway. But at a certain point, it's like there's less resistance to be on your own. And that means if you're in a relationship, you're not so worried that your partner will leave you anymore. That's just how it is. So I'm not worried if I fart on here that people won't hear it, because I don't do it on purpose. There's just a lot of pressure on my stomach and it needs to come out. And therefore, I have done my duty because I said like a video a day or something. And because I did that, good timing too.